Hello everybody, my name is Sniper's Fun and welcome you all back to my next top 10 list. I'm presenting all of you here on YouTube. Today I'm going to tackle a subject that I did plan on doing months ago, in fact late 2016. I just never got around to it until now, but I did do a version of the list back in 2016 with the Super Nintendo, and that is a favorite games for a system top 10 list. Now, back in 2016, I did my top 10 favorite Super Nintendo games, and I did state in the video, at least I believe I stated in the video I was going to do it for more systems. I just never got around to putting any video together within that time because, you know, holidays and other YouTube videos I did, and I was busy with work and so on and so forth. But today, I'm going to be presenting all of you my top 10 favorite PlayStation 2 games. Now, the PlayStation 2 is a big system, I think, not only for me, but for the entire gaming world as well. It's one of the most popular video game systems in the world. It's sold a whole heck of a lot. It was the successor to the big selling original PlayStation back in the 90s. It started off the turn of the decade, 2000, and it had a lot of hit games from Sony and a lot of third parties on board. It was a major system, and there was a lot of great games on it. And now a top 10 list for any gamer that was around at that time playing the PlayStation 2, or quite frankly playing the PlayStation 2 now, would probably have a differing list. But this is going to be my own personal top 10 list, and let's see how my list compares to yours. This would be my top 10 favorite PlayStation 2 games. Let's get this rolling. Number 10 is going to be Burnout 3 Takedown. Now, I never played the original Burnout, but I did play Burnout 2 on the GameCube, and I loved it, especially for the crash mode. It was a fun game. However, Burnout 3 Takedown took like what Burnout 2 did to the whole next level, and it was a whole heck of a lot better. There was more crazy Crash Course stuff, and there was like licensed music, which I loved the soundtrack. It was one of the many games of me growing up in that 90s to early mid-2000s, like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, you know, N64, GameCube, Xbox type era, where I grew into loving like alternative rock music and all these different types of bands and whatnot. So the soundtrack was good, the gameplay was crazy Crash Course action, and it wasn't just Crash Course just in the Crash mode, but like in general, like Takedown. The entire point of the game was to take down and take out the other racers. I loved Burnout 2. And it's always going to be a classic. One of my favorite games, probably on the GameCube, not maybe top 10, but one of my favorite games I remember playing on the GameCube back then. But Burnout 3 took that game and was just a whole heck of a lot better, a lot more fun, intense, and action-driven. Nice soundtrack, fun levels and stages to drive around, good visuals, everything to it. Burnout 3 was quite fun. That was number 10. Let's get on to number 9. Number 9 is going to go to Jak 2. Now, I remember playing all the Jaks back then, at least all the main ones. And Jak, the original Jak and Daxter was one of my first ever PlayStation 2 games. When I first got the PlayStation 2, I got a couple of used games at Blockbuster. That was one of the first games I got, and I loved it to death. And I think I put more time into Jak and Daxter as well. I completely beat that game like almost 100%, I believe, if I recall. I still have my save file, I'm not sure. But Jak 2 was a really awesome game because it took like the Jak 1 gameplay and just improved upon it. You know, I had the vehicles and the guns and just more of an action-oriented story, a lot of cool characters, a cool environment. And maybe back then I loved that style because I was, getting older and I was that kid that liked playing Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that back then. I wanted to try to be like the kid that played mature games and stuff, like the stupid idiot kid that did crap like that. And I look back on it, and it was still an interesting time in my life, and I still love this game, not just because it was like more action-oriented, but it did have, like I said before, it had a lot of cool characters, a cool story. It took the Jak and Daxter story and put it on tenfold, made it a whole heck of a lot more, serious and like in-depth, being time travel or different world and all this action-oriented, like civilians taking over by like the government head person and stuff like that. And it was a pretty fun game. I loved driving the vehicles, doing the missions, more open world, I think, than the first one was. And it was just really freaking fun. One of my favorite games on the system. That was number 9. Let's get on to number 8. Eight goes to Final Fantasy X. one of my favorite Final Fantasy games I ever freaking played. And I did not play every single one of them. I sure as heck didn't really grow up on the series. I kind of didn't get into the series until the PlayStation days. Although I have went back and played a little bit of 4, a little bit of 6, and stuff like that. Or to us, it'd be 2 and 3. But I played them not on the Super Nintendo, so technically they are 4 and 6. But Final Fantasy X was one of the, like, I got, like, my first Final Fantasy was 9, and I love 9. I got into it through my friends and whatnot. It was a fun experience, and it's an awesome Final Fantasy of itself. And for a PlayStation 1 list, that'd probably be one of my top games. On a PlayStation 2 list, Final Fantasy X was one, also, like I mentioned with Jak and Daxter, when I was talking about Jak 2, was one of my first games I ever got on the PlayStation 2. And it was also during that time when I was really starting to get into RPGs, and I really was getting into Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy X had nice visuals. It was a nice, you see how the jump they do, like the CG cutscenes, had cool characters like Tidus, Yuna, Auron, Wakka, Lulu, and a cool, interesting story, fun turn-based gameplay, which I love my turn-based Japanese RPGs. And it had nice visuals, like I stated, not just in the cutscenes, but the game itself. It was pretty good for the time that came out. Like 2001, and the battle, music and the music in general, and just the whole atmosphere of it. It was like a big jump from like the PlayStation 1 era into what the PlayStation 2 era, the 6th generation of consoles, GameCube, Xbox, they're defined as like that next generation. And it was a huge jump, and it was really, really fun. And I really remember playing that a whole lot with my friend before, and we beat it. Although we kind of used the game code thing, the cheats and stuff, I did go back and start trying to beat it mostly on my own though, but we were stupid kids and kind of cheated our way at the end. And it kind of backfired on us when we had to go back and turn some of it off. But that's my number 8. Let's get on to my number 7. SSX3. Now, I love me some SSX Tricky, especially, and that was one of my first games I got on the system too. I'm just mentioning all these games I started the PlayStation 2 on, and it was, like I said, it's so nostalgic in my mind. I can remember a lot of the games I started the system on. When you really love a system, you really remember where you started with it. But SX3 took SX Tricky to the whole next level, and there was a lot more customizing of your snowboarders, licensed music, which, just like I mentioned with Burnout 3 Takedown, I loved a lot of the music in here, and it kind of defined my taste of music back in the day. A lot of huge, cool cast of characters. A lot of returning from Tricky, and then they introduced a lot of cool other new characters, like Nate and I think Vigo, I think his name is, and stuff like that. But then we also had like Elise and Zoe and all that coming back, and Simon. And it was just a cool cast of characters, cool music, cool visuals, going down the mountains, the cool career type thing. You had multiplayer. I remember playing with my friends a lot. And you're going to hear that a lot on this list about me having nostalgic memories of playing these with other people, family, and friends. And it was just a really freaking fun game, and I loved it. And it's outside of Tricky as well. It was one of the games that defined me loving the SSX series. It was 3. That's my number 7. Let's get on to number 6. Tony Hawk's Underground. Oh, the Tony Hawk series. I loved growing up with the Tony Hawk series, played with my friends and family. I remember playing the original, having to have help with my friends do the Officer Dick stuff, and then I played with my friends and got stuff unlocked in 2, got the PlayStation 2, and played 3 and 4 of the Pro Skater series. And the Pro Skater series in itself is really freaking fun. I have nostalgic memories and love that part of the Tony Hawk series to death. But when it went to Underground, and it had that full-fledged story with Eric Sparrow and trying to go from being a low random street skater to being famous, and this different story ins and outs of it. While the story had its ups and downs, it's not perfect, but it was fun and enjoyable. And kicking, Sparrow to the curb, and the douche that he is, was really kind of fun. And the gameplay was fun, and a lot of cool locations to go to, a lot of cool unlockables like Iron Man and Gene Simmons. A lot of cool music, just like SSX3 and just like Burnout 3 Takedown. And this era of like late 90s and mid 2000s really defined my love for music, not just in video games, but in like cartoons, movies, anime, video games, like music, TV shows, stuff like that. And I just loved it a whole heck of a lot. And it's one of my favorite, not just on PS2, but one of my favorite Tony Hawk games I think I've ever played. And just like I did with the Pokemon list, I'm going to try to make this all one list. Let's get on to number 5. Kingdom Hearts 2. Now, Kingdom Hearts is a series I really hold dear and love. And I remember distinctly when the first one came out, and I loved that so much, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, and it kind of amplified the gameplay, made it a lot more in-depth, more driving the story forward and stuff like that, and I loved the first one a whole lot. Quite frankly, I loved the second one a lot too. And I loved the continuation of the story. It took us so freaking long to get to this. Like, I was anticipating this game so damn much. I was like, after like Chain of Memories came out, I'm like, okay, 2006 is coming, 2006 is coming. I had this game reserved. I was waiting for it day in and day out. And I remember when they showed the intro movie, like the first thing, I showed it to my friends and my one friend and his brothers, and they were obsessed with the series too. And we used to play the first one a lot and jump back and forth. And this came out, and we played this together. Played back and forth on our files and everything. It's just such an awesome RPG series, not just 2, but the series in general. And I love Kingdom Hearts 2 a lot. I just love Kingdom Hearts in general because, like I said, I love Final Fantasy. I love RPGs in the world of Final Fantasy and Square, thrown together with Disney, which I grew up. Everyone pretty much grew up watching freaking Disney movies. I did a freaking top 10 list last year of my favorite 2D animated Disney movies. I love Disney animated movies. And seeing those worlds collide in an RPG story-driven world like Kingdom Hearts was pretty freaking fun. And 2 just drove the story forward. Cool music and worlds, getting to see the Pride Lands and going back to like Agrabah and Mulan worlds. Stuff like that. It was really freaking fun. That's my number 5. Let's get on to number 4. Time Splitters Future Perfect. Oh, look, a first-person shooter game on this list. And I have a lot of those games in that genre I do like, not just on PlayStation 2, but they're Xbox, PlayStation 1, 64, GameCube, everything too. But Future Perfect, I love this. First off, let me just say I love the Time Splitters series. I remember taking Time Splitters 2 to my friend's house, the same friend I just mentioned with Kingdom Hearts and his brothers. We got 4 GameCube controllers, and we played for hours. Virus Mode, Monkey, Team Deathmatch, and all this different stuff. It was such a fun multiplayer game. This one just drove the story forward. It had a really cool, intricate story of you playing as Cortez, trying to stop the Time Splitters and jumping between all these different time periods from like the 70s into the 90s into the future and the 20s and stuff like that. It was pretty freaking cool. And I just loved all the crazy, wacky characters. You can play as a freaking monkey. You can play as like a zombie. It's just, it takes a less serious, more crazy, fanatic, fun approach to the first-person shooter genre. And I love that. I don't like the games can be serious sometimes and it's fun. Like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and whatnot, but then you get something like this, and it's just there for all-out chaos and all-out fun, and that's one reason I love the Time Splitter series. And I remember playing this and getting so involved into it, making levels, playing multiplayer, doing the story mode. It was a really fun experience. That's number 4. Let's get on to the top 3. SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. One of my favorite SmackDown games of all time, one of my favorite wrestling games of all time, especially on the PlayStation 2. I love wrestling, not just WWE, but I've been getting into watching other stuff over the years. But at the time, I was super big into wrestling, especially in the WWE. And I remember playing like SmackDown 2 with my friends, SmackDown Just Bring It with my friends, doing No Mercies and the WrestleMania 2000s, and all that, the WCW NWO Revenge and Shut Your Mouth and stuff. And when I was so... And I mentioned this, like I said, with Kingdom Hearts 2, I was anticipating that game so damn much. Here Comes the Pain, I was anticipating so freaking much, and I wanted to play the next WWE SmackDown game, because I love the SmackDown series. And I remember it came out around Halloween, I got off of school, dressing up in Halloween outfits and stuff like that, and right after school, my mom and I went up to Blockbusters, I rented this, and played it all freaking night. I was so into seeing all the new characters they had, like Rey Mysterio and all the stats, the improved season mode, the nice roster of all the legends and stuff, the improved Create Wrestler for the most part, and just the overall fun improvements off of Shut Your Mouth, and just such a fun game, especially at the time when I was a super huge WWE fan. I'm a big wrestling fan now, but back then I was super huge just in the WWE especially. And this was one of the biggest games I was looking forward to back in 2003. That's number 3. Let's get on number 2. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Or, Subsistence, the updated version 2, which is the version I mainly played. I rented the original with the fixed camera, but then I remember playing buying subsistence and playing more subsistence. But whatever, Metal Gear Solid 3. I love Metal Gear Solid 3. It is my favorite, and I know that's cliche because everyone freaking says it, but it is my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. From the story during like the 70s and the Cold War, the jungle atmosphere, all the cool characters you see, all the boss battles, the villains you fight against, the music, like the Snake Eater theme is freaking awesome. It's built. This game is built to be like a Bond movie. The intro theme is built like a Bond intro theme movie. And Hideo Kojima and Konami, when they weren't stupid with their pachinko machines, was awesome back in the day when they made this on the PlayStation 2. And it was such a fun game. It's just overall, like, and still, this game's still visually, for a PlayStation 2 game, still visually looks pretty freaking good today, especially when you play like the HD remastered version, stuff like that. And it was just such a fun game. It is, I cannot explain it enough. It was so fun. And such an atmospheric, emotional, nostalgic playthrough for me. Now, before we get time to number 1, like always, I have a couple honorable mentions I'm going to present to all of you. These are a lot of other PS2 games I really, truly like as well. They barely missed the list, like every other past list, but they're all PS2 games that I remember playing on the system. Some of my favorite games playing on the system. Some of the games that define the PlayStation 2 from my experience playing the system since I got it, like in 2001. Pretty much to this current day, like right now in 2017, because I still play PS2 games, like a lot of people do. The PlayStation 2 was such a nostalgic system. These games barely missed the mark, but they are also games that define my love for the PlayStation 2. The first, Disgaea, although I could technically also throw on Disgaea 2 on this list as well. I don't have that one in the honorable mentions. I played it mostly from the first one because the first one was kind of like the start to the series. And I just love it for its wacky anime craziness. Like I know I've mentioned this a few times, but I like tactical type games. It's like a strategy type RPG, like, you know, kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics, and just creating your own like units, building them up, leveling them up, playing through the crazy wacky story. The visual art style of being as crazy, cute, fanatically, you know, anime-esque as it is, and you know, and if you played this guy, you freaking know about how the series rolls. It was just freaking fun. NBA Street Volume 2, I love the first one a lot. Played that a lot with my family and friends, especially my neighbor. But Volume 2 just took it to the whole next level, being able, like, more improving the ability to create your own basketball player, a lot more people to play as, there's a lot more legends to do, a lot more customizing of teams and stuff, just more modes to play, the music, like I mentioned with Burnout, and, you know, SSX and stuff like that. It kind of defines some love, like more for hip-hop and, you know, basketball-esque theme back in the day when that was kind of, I was kind of into that as well. It was just such a fun game. SSX Tricky, I have 3 on the list because I like Tricky. I mean, I like 3 a little bit more, but I love Tricky a lot because it was one of my first defining games on the PlayStation 2. I always would play it at my friend's house. He had it, and this was before I got the PlayStation 2. My neighbor, we always would go over his house. I would always play it. I loved it so freaking much. And it was one of the first games I got on the PS2 when I finally got it myself. SSX Tricky. Now, I don't like it as much as 3, but Tricky is awesome as well. Jak and Daxter, like I basically mentioned. I think I like Jak 2 just a smidge more. I don't know about Jak 3. Jak 3 I like quite a bit too. And the Jak X I like a bit. But the original Jak and Daxter was what started it all for me. It was my first ever PS2 games. I remember going to Blockbusters, buying that, and like Maximo and stuff like that. Around the time I got like Just Bring It, and like SSX Tricky, and like the 007 at the time, Agent Under Fire. Those were like my first couple PS2 games, and that was a pretty big start for the system for me. Jak and Daxter was just freaking fun coming out and playing like stuff like Crash Bandicoot. Dynasty Warriors 3, especially 3. I do love quite a bit of 4 and a little bit of 5, but I remember playing 3 a whole heck of a lot more. I would always play that with my friends. Same thing, the same freaking neighbor. I would always play Dynasty Warriors. I would always be like Zhou Yu or Zhao Yun or whatever. When I played through the game, I just loved beating down the things. I don't know, I remember playing on one of the Jam Pack discs, the demo, and it was so freaking fun. And I was waiting to actually buy this myself and play it with my friends and family. It was a fun experience by yourself or with friends, and it was just crazy. And I think they improved a lot of stuff with like 4 and 5 and whatnot when Samurai Warriors came out. But this one was always just nostalgic to me. 007 Nightfire. I love me some 007. Nightfire was an improvement over, especially multiplayer, in terms of, you know, Agent Under Fire, and it was just a fun game. More movie-esque too, actually. Especially when you get Pierce. This was the first one, I think, in terms of like the PS2 GameCube era that had like Pierce Brosnan as the actual Bond. The Bouncer, Square Enix's RPG beat 'em up type game. It was pretty freaking fun. I remember renting it, playing with my friends and whatnot, and it's just having an overall fun time. It was just really, I liked the story and the characters and the environment. It was all pretty cool. I really wish they'd make a sequel to this Square or include them in Kingdom Hearts. SmackDown for 2006. I like Here Comes Pain a little bit more, but I love SmackDown for 2006 a lot because of, you know, freaking GM mode and being creative wrestlers and stuff like that. It was really freaking fun. Final Fantasy X-2. I love 10 a lot. 10-2, I love 10 more, and 10-2 I like as well. I like 10-2. A lot of people don't like it because of the whole girl aspect and stuff like that, but I love it because it was kind of interesting seeing more in-depth on like Riku and Yuna and Pain, being able to change your class, and the story was a continuation. It was one of the first times they actually did a continuation in terms of Final Fantasy, and it was just fun, especially the music. Tony Hawk's Underground 2. I loved Underground 1 a little bit more. Underground 2 was pretty freaking fun as well. And number one, I didn't do the, I jumped the gun. I'm sorry about that, people. Number one's the first Kingdom Hearts. I'm just going to get cut right to the chase. No drum roll, no, what number one, here we go. I just jumped right into it. By accident, but gotta get to this. I mentioned it before with Kingdom Hearts 2. I love the Kingdom Hearts series. The first Kingdom Hearts I like a lot more than the second one. I love 2, and I was really anticipating it. But number 1 was just an experience. I would always play it with my friends and my family. We would go search for the stupid Dalmatians, jump between all the Disney worlds. It was the first time you actually see the freaking jump between these worlds. And seeing Disney meet Square and everything was just really freaking fun. Turn-based RPG. I was starting to get into RPGs at the time, JRPGs especially, and this was one of the ones that defined my love for the genre, especially back in that late 90s, mid 2000s range, 2002. I was especially anticipating it. But always look at all the jam-packed discs and stuff, and it was just such a fun experience, and I loved it so much. And that's it for my top 10 favorite PlayStation 2 games. Put in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys like my top 10 list? Which ones from my top 10 list and my honorable mentions would you have on your own list? What's your own top 10 list? What are your favorite PlayStation 2 games that you have ever played? Put in the comment section down below. We can discuss it there. Have fun. My name is SnipersFun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day, and see you all later in the next video. See ya.